Well, hello there, everybody. Jamming to a little bit of Allman Brothers. Great album, by the way. If you don't have it, you should. Um, Live at the Fillmore East. Kick-ass album. Uh, Saw those guys back even when Dwayne there's. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Thank you for stopping in as I get over there and I get over here. And the bus is now leaving. I hope you're on board because I am. And again, thank you for stopping in, tuning in, and turning on. There you go. Speaking favor over us all, nothing missing, nothing broken, as we like to say. Be of service to others. Just be a kind person. Because that's maybe what we should really define us as a species, not humans, persons. There we go. Hello, everybody in the chat room. Hello, Desiree. Good to see you. Shout out from Mount Shasta. How is that? I know exactly where that is. Welcome. Thank you for being a part of this. Mr. Robert Scott and Scotty Boy. Scotty Boy, we are definitely favored to have you amongst us. So much love to you, brother. Elderberry and Emperor Rex, what's up? Chris, good to see you. Hello, Stephanie Marie. DC and Street Mom. Hello, how are you, Brenda? Good to see you. DC, good to see you. And Josh, Mr. Floyd's Universe. I love it. Colleen, and let's see who else. Grace. Hello. Good to see you. Millie, hello. And Nina the Mystic, hello, darling. Good to see you as well. Let's see, is there anybody else I'm missing? Probably. Rick, how are you? Speaking healing over you, my friend, all the time. It's the only way we're going to do it. I think I got everybody else. So, Gilbert, good to see you. And who else? As I go back here, I'm scrolling back in time, don't mind me. Doug, good to see you as well. And so Blazing River, yep, yeah, our country is a changing. Mm-mm-mm-mm. It is, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt. And probably what we're going to be talking about today is probably very fitting. Um, we'll get that. One of a great resource I like to bring out, and those of you who have joined recently, I hope you're subscribed. And if you are, thank you. Get a friend to subscribe as well. That's why, and hit the like button. But anyway, there is a great jewel of a website, and there are several. Um, this one is Forgotten Books, very easy.com. And if your e-library is needing expansion, as your mind should always be, this is a great, great resource. As you can see, they cover the full gamut, anywhere from what I would say mainstream doctrine, religion to esoteric philosophy. And again, get it, make use of it. You can just really have a fun time. This is like a candy store, pick over here, pick over there. It's all pretty cool. So get it. All right. You got it. And as you can see, it just goes on and on and on. Great resource. All right. So I'll put that there and then put that there. And we're here. Yeah, we are. So I like I like to think deep. Um, the more time I spend on this planet, the more I realize how my own personal prejudices, um, perspectives, knowledge has been fashioned after a false construct. And as you get older, You know, you just don't sweat the small stuff. It's not the question that you have become apathetic, quite the opposite. You become more empathic and you question. I do question my beliefs all the time, my political beliefs, my material beliefs, my spiritual beliefs. They're all in there. And they've all been crafted and created by your environment. And as you get older, you see that there's typically two type of people. The vast majority are the ones that are just pissed off at the world. Their life is hard and, et cetera, et cetera. And they get mean. And then you have the smaller minority where, again, you learn it's in the modern nomenclature today, everyone, you hear particularly one philosophical ideology saying, well, you have to be tolerant, can't be intolerant. But you realize that those who say such things, they're already intolerant. And this other small group, you just learn that, hey, that's how that person is, or that's how they think. Do I really want to expend the energy to try to persuade, dissuade another? Nah, nah, you know, not time enough for that. And most would agree that so many spend their lives. It's very important, your social circle, if you're in the corporate world, profession, entrepreneur, whatever it is, it's a constant competition for resources. And the thing about it is, it's never that resources are ever not there. It's our perception that there is lack. And then you have to step back and you say, okay, so fine. Um, what's the problem? There are a lot of problems. We all will agree. The world is one messed up place. We have, I think, a new genus of man. These are the ones that have their head perpetually up their ass. I got a t-shirt that actually expresses that. You know, I once told a person, I said, your problem is your head is up your ass all the time. And the other thing you learn, here's one word of wisdom. So again, what is the difference between a brown noser and an ass kisser? We all know them. Probably know some yourself. Um, Simple, it's depth perception. And then you get that other group who said, we just don't have time for this. And you get into thinking and you begin to say, well, all right, so what's the problem? We know, for instance, mankind, womankind, humankind, there is no such thing, doesn't exist. When our technology began to crack the cosmic code, part of that code breaking was when we broke the human genome. And we discovered a whole lot of things about us that we really didn't want to know because it emphasized how much we have forgotten, but yet bears out blatantly that something's wrong. So we're hybrids. All of us are. There are no humans left on this planet. And we're going to get into this book that is so cool because it begins to define the different type of hybrids that exist in this planet in the 21st century. It's shocking. Um, most people, and whether they admit to it or not, in the deep alleys of their consciousness, the story of Adam and Eve is firmly planted. Well, when you look at the reality of things, that as hybrids, then what was Adam and Eve? Were they human? I mean, it's interesting. Doesn't it say that they were created in the image of whatever they were? I contend geneticists, but so what were they? Were they Cro-Magna? Were they sapiens? Um, you look at all the different uh, genesis of man. Homo. Homo meaning man. Sapien means wise. So what it appears is that we're mutts. We're mutts. Heinz 57. There's so much in us that we don't even know what it is. So the construct, such as created in the image of God, or even here in the United States, we have it in our documents, all men are created equal. Maybe not. They didn't have the human genome code broken 300 years ago. They didn't know what they also didn't have 300 years ago? The Sumerian tablets. That puts a crinkle in things. So were the Sumerians sapiens? Was Adam and Eve sapien? Is God sapien? You begin to get into this. And so you get into, well, what then is human? And if we're not human, if we're a hybrid of a human, then who did this to us? It's a serious question because it affects every aspect of what life is in this reality, in this world. Now, if it was better understood and more widely taught, it might provide some answers why some humans are like they are and others are not. And if it could be possible that we could find our kind, then we could set up enclaves because we know that those humans are counter to us. And it's not the color of skin. That has nothing to do with anything. But again, it's part of this genetic experiment, if you want to call it as such. So, this is, by the way, much more than just what you would consider a mere hypothesis. In this article from physics.org, it's very interesting, written by Jim Hewitt, July of 2013, so it's been out there. It came out of the result of what in 2005 when we broke the code. It says human hybrids, a closer look at the theory and evidence. And it becomes very clear very quickly that there is something science is not wanting to recognize, religion is not wanting to recognize, society, politics, however you want to put this. And so he writes, from an ancient hybrid cross between pigs and chimpanzees. Let me just get up here. Says, despite the large number of comments here at physics.org on microevolution.net and on several discussion forums, little in the way of scientific consensus has emerged. By and large, those coming out against the theory had surprisingly little science to offer in their sometimes personal attacks against McCarthy. Because if he is right, as many have proven to be, then we do have a problem here, because you would have to completely redefine religion. You'd have to redefine politics. And the question in the debate is, can the human psyche as a collective handle that type of shock? It's like what they've done with the UFOs. If they're real, then they've concealed it for our better good, because I think it was Eisenhower would say, what the hell is going to happen to God? Anyway, I just want to read a little bit of this. It says, as any skilled listener might observe, the most important thing in communication is not always hearing what is said, but rather hearing what isn't said. One thing we have not heard here is objection from those writer scientists who have any kind of public reputation in the evolutionary science. I don't think that it is because they didn't hear about the story. Talk show hosts like Jimmy Kimmel found the article, or at least parts of it, to be rather revealing, and he used segments from it on his show. Commenters on the O'Reilly factor also called in asking for his opinion on the story. The reason for the silence from above, so to speak, is that they have nothing to gain in being right, but much to lose when any statement they might offer is picked apart by someone with a little more conceptual fluidity and who has substantial research vested in the theory. As many critics noted, the advancement of scientific knowledge does not require disproving every radical theory that comes along. Lots of incorrect theories exist that cannot, for all practical purposes, be formally disproven. It seems, however, that decent arguments against the hybrid origins theory are surprisingly hard to find, and moreover, the established elders of the field, well, they know it. We decided it would be worthwhile to take a closer look at the objections that were mostly commonly offered against the hybrid hypothesis. Chief among them was that the chromosome differences here are just too large to support a viable hybrid. One of the previous examples we gave, the Zendok, or the zebra parent 2N44, the donkey parent, another argument was that the morphological distance or genetic differences between chromosome numbers are just too great. Most of us are familiar with the platypus. The paper published in Nature a few years ago demonstrated that the platypus genome contains both as I flip the page there, going, okay, bird and mammal chromosomes, and therefore that they vastly differed. Bird and mammal sex chromosome systems have been successfully bridged by this creature. And the platypus is a freak of nature, right? Can't happen. Well, yeah, it is. It says this example is not offered as any kind of proof, but it does suggest that sometimes, long ago, a cross occurred that would have been even more distant than that between a chimpanzee and a pig, one between an otter-like mammal and a duck-like bird. And if such was the case, the hybrids from the cross must have been able to produce offsprings. Otherwise, they would have died out and the platypus would not exist today. The objections that mating between such different animals is just too strange has been addressed at length on McCarthy's website. Ample counterexamples have been given there and elsewhere, including the evidence of mating without issue between such strange pairings as a buck rabbit and a female cat, or even with a domestic hen, or a dog with a monkey, or with a swan goose. In general, as McCarthy points out, it has long been known that many organisms, as adults, prefer to mate with whatever animal they are exposed to at critical early stage in their lives when sexual imprinting occurs. What if you applied that to humans? He also notes that it is not as if his hypothesis that humans are pig-chimp hybrids has not been tested. Under the alternative hypothesis, humans are not pig-chimp hybrids. The assumption is that humans and chimpanzees are equally distant from pigs. You would therefore expect chimp traits not seen in humans to be present in pigs at about the same rate as our human traits not found in chimps. However, when he searched the literature for traits that distinguish humans and chimps and compiled a lengthy list of such traits, he found that it was always humans who were similar to pigs with respect to these traits. Isn't it odd that the first heart transplants, uh, it's a pig heart? They'll grow organs in pigs. Why? Because the human body will not reject them. So if this really pissed people off that they thought that they were simian, had simian chromosome and genes, this is going to make them go back crap crazy. That humans and pigs apparently have more of an association than human and chimpanzees. This also raised was the arguments that pigs and humans might have converged anatomically as a result of long-standing animal husbandry, not limited, but perhaps including genes carried over by retroviruses. If this is, in fact, a general mechanism that operates behind the scenes, then we must justifiably ask, why don't a lot of the traits that distinguish us from primates connect us with dogs, with whom we have obviously lived at close quarters since prehistoric times? Why is it only pigs? One objection, which seems to have readily stretched the genetic exclusion argument, was an appeal to junk DNA as a mechanism that could prevent two species from reproducing. The reference was to a paper in the Pylos Biology, which revealed interesting phenomena occurring in the Drosophila fruit flies that can prevent embryos from developing. The study points to faster mutation rates found in the non-coding DNA and outlines a mechanism where mutation in a segment on the X chromosome of the father prevents proper separation of the whole chromosome. Clearly, a unique situation in this particular species, however interesting, does not invalidate the documented existence of successful hybrids produced in thousands of other species crosses. Yeah. Um, I'll continue on this because it's only a couple paragraphs. And moving forward, we hope to see more discussion on this issue from both sides of the argument. Nothing is preventing anyone from taking a closer look at the genetic picture. Maybe they don't want to. In fact, doing so never has been easier. Sites like eEnsemble let you browse a genome with unprecedented ease. Sequence data or genome organization can be curated to support both observation and idea. How freaking cool is that? As it can also be done in a pose the same. For the matter at hand, we might expect each side to continue to accuse the other of cherry-picking their arguments. Eventually, though, sufficient data will fall from the collisions between example-fed discussions and informed search to deliver an elevated consensus. So, us and pigs. What do you think of them apples, huh? So, and then we've got this junk DNA and the argument that has to be addressed. Well, did Neanderthals ever mate with sapiens? Did sapiens ever mate with the Denisovans? Did the Denizens ever mate with Cro-Magnons and then mate with humans? All carrying genetic material, particularly where insemination of one genetic code is now being imprinted upon another genetic code from the same tree, not necessarily the same branch. And how do those distinguishes, if that is true, then how can you say that there was ever a human created that was perfect in its nature and its human genetic material? Further cross-contamination is you looked at this from particularly from an eschatology point of view, that if there is this thing of a son of God, a Jesus, a savior, and if there was insemination of a female human, well, we have to determine what that female human was really made genetically into the code. But what we also have to discuss, and which the church will never touch, is then you have a new genome being introduced to the human genome at large. Now, what is this foreign DNA substance? How is it sequenced? And how did it bind to a non-human form to form and to bond to a human form? I'm just asking the questions because it would have it would be disastrous for our species to be introduced to an alien DNA, because that's all it can be. And if you believe the stories, well, we have a story of what happened when that happened in the past. It produced a monstrosity of humans that were gigantic in size. Well, they were partial human. And if that genetic material was contaminated or bonded into the human genome, into our DNA sequence, that we still carried, even if those genes were dormant, we still carry it as a species, then what did this intrusion from an alien do to the human race at large? One of the evidences could be that when that contamination came in the form of a savior, right, that it took about 400 years for that DNA to begin to take hold, and all across the world, humankind went into what we call the Dark Ages. We regressed. Was that a result of this contamination of a supposed Holy Spirit? Now, how a Holy Spirit can, in fact, create semen, you can't simply say it was a miracle and bypass that process. It would be a fraud. So the insemination process had to happen. That would put an end to everything that would say, well, because the truth is that woman that is, the one portion of the religion say is a virgin is not a virgin. The story goes that she had 6 other children. In fact, if you follow the breadcrumbs, he even said it when he was on the cross. So, what did this do? It jacked with us. Who knows how many times this has happened? If you believe the theory, the hypothesis of the alien intrusion story, which if you believe in that story, and I did, 5 decades, but if that's true, then in the modern genre today, the idea of aliens abducting humans, having sex with women, it's really odd that they really want to have sex with women, not with males. The extraction of human semen from males is about the only thing, but they're really into this whole thing of this parasitic, because that's what one aspect of human birth is. You have another life form that has attached itself to a human form and will begin to feed off of that human form. That is a definition of a parasite. But that's how it does for us. So, this is deep. Hey, Susie Q. Good to see you there, Chris. Hello. So, I have a great little book that we're going to refer to. I do not, this is in my Kindle. So, this is the book called Hybrids. So, you think you are a human. And we're going to go through some of her books. If you want it, it is on Amazon. It's also on Kindle. But let me just read you little snippets here. So we need to begin to teach ourselves, what kind of hybrid are we? It's very obvious that there are different humans occupying this planet. Some of us have remarkable skills that would almost seem otherworldly, supernatural. Others do not, but others possess such minds, whether it be mechanical or theoretics. It's incredible. And though we say that we're all human, we are not. We've lost our tribes. We've lost the connection of understanding why we gravitate to certain type of people and are repulsed by others. So, introduction by Tanis. I just want to read this. This is a controversial book. It will be confusing to some, offensive to a few, and confirming for others. I have been teaching workshops on the topic of human hybrids for some years, and many people attending the workshop felt that at long last the reasons for their feelings of being different in a human world were answered. When I first became a psychotherapist in my 20s, I did so, I thought at the time, to help humans. During my 30s and 40s, although I continued working with humans, it became increasingly obvious to me that not all humans were as they appeared on the surface. Give me a second here. Thank you. They were different in ways that could not be explained by traditional psychotherapeutic approaches. This discovery took me on a journey that has evolved over the years into the topic of this book, Hybrids. So you think you are human? And that's a question that completely the mind wants to rebuff, but I don't think we're human. I think we're a variation of a form, but there are no humans left. They've been wiped out, apparently for a very long time. She writes, my first breakthrough into this new world of learning occurred when I rented a cottage in Ireland that was occupied by a leprechaun family. The fact that the cottage was haunted by the little people was well known to the village locals, but was a great surprise to me as I had rented the cottage sight unseen. The head of the leprechaun family, who uses the pseudonym of Lloyd, taught me a great deal about elementals, nature spirits, and little people by other names, and asked me to write a book about elementals in 10 years. This I did in Summer with Leprechauns, and later in a second book titled Pilgrimage with the Leprechauns. During that intervening decade between living in the cottage and writing the first book, people with elemental ancestry came to my therapy practice, and it was recognizing their ancestry to enable me to help them fulfill their purpose in this life. I came to think of them as hybrids. As you can imagine, it was a bit of a stretch to find myself in this foreign land with no guidepost other than intuition and how to assist them. I was getting quite good at recognizing and assisting elemental hybrids when, lo and behold, other people came to me who did not have elementary ancestry, but who were not fully human. There are other types of hybrids? This was a great stretch. What helped me was knowing that my acceptance of the elemental hybrids was helping people. You might ask how these individuals even found me. It's not that I had a calling card that read, specializing in hybrid psychotherapy, come to me to discover why you feel different from other humans. And she's right. Come on, I know because some of you have written me, I've seen some of your comments. I don't fit in with the others. Many of us don't even fit in with our own family. It has surprised me that hybrids have become such a major theme in my life because I thought for many years that my work in the world as a psychotherapist and teacher in both mainstream and spiritual workshops was to help humans to develop their consciousness. Looking back, I realize that cosmic intelligences wanted information about hybrids to be accessible to all beings that live on Earth, and that spirit needed a mouthpiece for this information. I mean, just think about this. I mean, we've covered it, you know, the whole serpent thing, the Cain and Abel thing, and that the Cain wasn't of Adam's bloodline, but he was of Eve's. So who's the daddy? And of course, when he got kicked out of the tribe, there were other people. I mean, what's up with that? And if you take the whole creation story at face value, it means that that version of humans were incestuous. They had coitus with one another. It's the only way it happens. Now, you tell me that ain't going to leave its mark on a species. Mm-hmm. I had a friend who was a Tennessee highway patrolman, and there was one county in East Tennessee that they didn't venture too far into because it was a well-known fact that, they were an incestuous bunch within that locale. Yeah, anyway. And that's just messed up. I don't care what anyone says. How the hell? You got a whole religion and this is the freaking God, and he says that's just fine? No, no. I mean, okay. Um, she writes further, I got the job. For the past 20 years, I have taught both elemental and hybrid workshops around the world. I'm going to reach out to this. She's a phenomenon. I follow her now. It's just, yeah. After hearing my talks, people urged me to write this book. And again, I encourage you, go get it. It's on Amazon. Yeah. Says, although there is currently a vast amount of information available on angels and elementals, I feel the time is ripe for introducing the possibility that not all humans are fully human. I say possibility because I want you to decide the truth of this for yourself. I also want to make it clear that my reference to hybrids do not refer to UFO abductees who think they have been impregnated by alien beings. Although this topic bears investigation, this is not the topic of this book. The hybrids to which I'm referring have been on our planet for eons of time and are approved by the great spiritual beings who oversee the destiny of this planet. Expedition group, remember, that's who we want to reach out to. I think they're already aware of us, yes. Hybrids. So You Think You're a Human provides information on the most common hybrids I have discovered to date, with personal stories from people who believe themselves to be hybrids. This list continues to grow as I discover more type of hybrids. Folks, all you have to do is look into the political arena, the corporate arena, the religious arena. We're not all the same human. No. And I contend, and it's just my personal opinion, I haven't, even before I found her here, that I was suspecting that for a long, long time. If you're an empath, you know you can feel the energies. Um, I've met some politicians, high-ranking politicians, that I could tell you they were not human. They were not. And you grab a hold of their hand and you will know what the freak I'm talking about. There was one named Bush that I can tell you, creep factor off the scale. She says, I also included a short questionnaire. What type of hybrid am I? To help you determine if perhaps you are a hybrid, along with helpful hints to assist you if you find that you are. Hybrids have been here all along, but I was not ready to consider this at an earlier time. The immensity of the material would have overwhelmed me, and I might have rejected it. Spirit leads us step by step when it brings us into unknown territory so that we can succeed in absorbing the learning it wishes to give us when the time is right for us to receive it. Life offers us opportunities to give up our preconceptions about what is and what is not possible. The more open we are to what the universe wants to present, the more we are able to see clearly what has been in front of our eyes all the time. Hybrids is one of those themes for me. It is my hope that you will find it to be an interesting concept as well, and if Spirit wills, it might offer insight to unanswered questions in your life about who you are and why you do what you do. We're talking about that voodoo, that hoodoo. Am I a hybrid? The following thoughts are common to hybrids. If you answer yes to many of these statements, this book will be of special interest to you. And if you have Kindle, it's really inexpensive. All right, let's go with the first one. I often feel I don't fit in. I'm hypersensitive to violence. I'm deeply committed to helping the earth. Okay. I would describe myself as an independent thinker. Holy fuck. Really? Okay, I think a big one right there with a gold star. I follow my own inner guidance about rightness, even if it goes against the norm. Holy shit. I tell you what, I've known I am not normal. Now, I listen, this is this affirmation, and many of you are probably going, what? I mean, 5 for 5, right? Yeah. So we'll cover a little bit more. And again, if you like this, let me know. We'll continue on it. And I'm going to reach out to see if I can get her on. So this is introduction by Lloyd, the leprechaun. Lloyd here. For those of you who don't know me, I've been working with Tanis for a couple of decades now, and we've co-written a few books together. I am a leprechaun, and my father and mother were leprechauns, descending from a long line of leprechauns. In my world, the realm of the elementals, nature spirits by another name, I'm given over to the study of humans, especially how humans and elementals can work together as co-creators on this planet. This is what we're supposed to be doing, if you hadn't realized it. For most of me adult life, I've been working with various kinds of elementals, goblins, gnomes, elves, and such. You get the picture. To make sure that they're up to the task of collaborating with humans who want to partner and create a beautiful planet in alignment with natural and spiritual laws. At least that's how my work started. However, it's taken a few jogs in the road, and that brings us to the topic at hand. Elementals who have entered the human world as what we're calling hybrids. You might wonder why elementals would want to do such a thing. We wouldn't if humans took better care of our environment, but they don't. As the areas on Earth where we can live by shrinking, many of us thought that as humans, we could develop our free will to become full creators to help the Earth by saving the environment, as well as bringing more beauty and joy into the human world. After all, we have always been way ahead of humans in the creative arts, painting, dance, theater, etc. That's not to say that elementals are able to bring 100% of themselves into the human world. Even our old ones were only able to retain about 20 to 25% of their elemental heritage. That's because humans have such strong egos that elementals wouldn't be able to cope and could easily lose themselves in humanity. As such, only the strongest, usually the eldest, receive permission from the karmic board of the elementals and humans to enter human evolution. That's the way it is with hybrids, generally speaking. Angel hybrids, for example, are only a small percent angel with the greatest percentage remaining human. That's my point. If these angels fell from heaven, fallen angel or not, they're still freaking angels. And that means their genetic code was imprinted upon ours. Is this making sense to many of you? Sure it is. All this hybrid incarnating has been going on for a few thousand years, but more so in the last 500 years until elementals found a way to stay in our own world while working with humans, which is the work me and Tanis are doing now. I'd like to point out that this is important, that even as I remain in my elemental world, working with humans has changed me, and it's changed Tanis as well. That's because we became who we associate with. It's the power of thought that makes us who and what we are. And that's exactly how hybrids are determined by the karmic board. The great ones who oversee our evolution can hear, see, and know what spirit wants, and they then think what spirit wants into form. Elementals do this and humans do this. But unless the humans are spiritual masters, they don't have the rightness of it the way elementals do. You humans never have been good listeners of the divine plan. Instead, you have thought up a world with polluted water and air, violence, and whatnot. But I'd better not go down that track. You humans are not too good at facing yourselves in the mirror. So now I'll turn this back to me favorite writing partner, Tanis, who will guide you through all the specific, historical, and mythical information about hybrids, according to humans, that is. Then I'll step back in to provide my up-close perspective and fill in anything she may have missed. Stay posted. It's going to get very exciting. The case for hybrids. It is an accepted fact that humans and all life on Earth evolved over millennia from chemical compounds on a gaseous planet. Although we accept this fact intellectually, most of us have no emotional connection to it. It is not part of our experimental reality, and because of this, our life is based on an altogether different belief system. That is, all humans are basically the same, and the only ways we differ are in race, culture, gender, skin, or hair color, height, and weight. This view of human beings prevails even though science has proven that all humans are 99% either, not the physical matter we enormously see ourselves as. If we cannot see the basic facts of reality, how can we hope to perceive the complexity and variations of being human? The good news is that most scientists now accept a relatively new principle. Thoughts can change the result of their experiments and might even deny the validity of the results if the results do not tally with their own belief systems. Example: in 1992, the Natural Washington's 79.358 German scientist Seveld Balnadova, and two colleagues, I'm not fluent in German, reported findings of cocaine, hashish, and nicotine in Egyptian mummies dating from 1070 BC to 395 AD. What? All right, this is just the hippie in me. I've been a hippie for tens of millions of years. So we got the cocaine, some partying. I'm telling you, there's some sex going on there. The hashish and nicotine. Now, that's a cannonball for you right there. The partying group. Bet you they had some good rock and roll, Gilbert. What do you think? And they denounced, and they were denounced by many of their colleagues who said that it was impossible and that someone must have put it there because tobacco came from the New World. Oh, really? Bob Newhart, by the way, has one of the best comical skits on that, but I digress. And was only discovered by Columbus in the early 16th century. Recent investigation has reestablished the credibility of their finding. Tobacco has been used in sacred connecting to the spirit realm. It's just the tobacco that we sell in the United States is so chemically treated that it loses all of its medicinal and mystical properties. We also now know there has been communication between North America, Europe, and Asia for thousands of years. An early Stone Age tool called the Clovis point, used by ancestors of the La Cruz caves about 30,000 years ago, has recently been found in North America. The Ojibwa people who lived around the Great Lakes in North America have an unusual mitochondrial DNA found in Europe over 15,000 years ago. Landlocked my ass. It takes courage to go against the prevailing opinion, but like the German scientists, we must or will never learn the truth about our existence on Earth. I learned this early in life. My first book, Decoding Destiny, published in 1998, I stated that the Atlanteans built the Sphinx around 10,000 BCE. At that time, it was accepted by archaeologists that the Sphinx was less than half that age. Well, we now know that it was flooded by the oceans, not once, not twice, but thrice. It was emotionally difficult for me to assert something that contradicted experts. Since then, American geologist Robert Schoch did a computer analysis showing that the Sphinx is between 10,000 and 15,000 years old and eroded by water, which tallies with my premise that it was damaged with the sinking of Atlantis. We're at a wonderful time on Earth, when our preconceptions of our entire history are being re-examined. We have been taught to believe that all humans evolved from apes, and even though archaeologists have not found the missing link, they are convinced a skull will be discovered to prove their theory. Funnily, The more skulls archaeologists discover, the more they change their earlier opinions, but they cling to each opinion as solid and correct at the time. Biologists aren't having an easy time understanding what a human is either. They have only been able to decode the purpose of 3 to 5% of our DNA. The remainder of the DNA, they term junk DNA, which means ignore it, is not important. When they learn more, I believe, one, they will discover we're not all 100% human. Two, change their view of what human is. Do you see anywhere in nature where this has happened? The answer is, of course. The most obvious observation is that all beings on Earth, including plants, animals, humans, stones, fish, birds, totally distinct species of being of absolutely all life, evolved from the same chemical stew billions of years ago. Isn't it amazing that this happened? But humanity didn't do it. This evolution happened before we could even dream of creating such forms of life. Obviously, there is a plan that continues to unfold without us. We'll break it off there. Yes, there is more to it. Wayne, the soul isn't biological, so to your pinned question, if we have a soul, it's still likely the same essence. Well, then you have to explain what the essence is, Dr. Hugh. If you're saying that the soul is of a foreign substance or state, then how did the blending come in? Who was responsible for that? Again, what is the basic purpose of a soul? If we're not all human, and if we find out that there are variations to the theme, then are you saying that the soul overrides these complexities of the DNA? I mean, if DNA is what it is, then it is showing that it has a creator of a higher intelligence that's beyond us. So, Dr. Hugh, and we'll continue to, this is how we learn. Because again, what is the purpose of the soul? And the idea and the belief that we have a soul, remember, is very recent. There are many cultures of the past who do not believe we have a soul. A spirit, yes. And then you have those who say we have neither. Jargo, appreciate that, brother. But that is why we talk about this. I mean, obviously, we're all going to die. So we know that this plane is temporal. And so does the matter here matter there? I mean, that would be a hybrid of this state into another state. Anyway, I love this discussion group. This is I wish I had it to where we could just all do a call in and just talk about this, because this is, Bonnie says human simply means light manifested. Well, but then why are we so dark? Because humanity is dark. I mean, our actions are dark. Our thoughts are dark. We enslave others. I mean, yeah. F. Kitty, right back at you. Hello, Mary Wins. How are you, darling? John Price, we expire. Yeah. Lynn, how are you doing? On tobacco, they grow it all over all their, and I getting right in the middle of a conversation. Operation Cross, thank you. Well, that's why we'll continue to talk on this. And if you want the book, I really encourage it, because it's a conversation that we'll continue to have. Dr. Hughes said, I say so. DNA is the corpse, prison, vessel code. I don't think it's connected to the biology. Wait a minute. So many comments going by. Connection to the biological, okay. Biological, okay. Biology, excuse me. Reading other comments. Trying to catch. However, yes, you could argue the fallen who bred on a spiritual level as well as a physical altered the soul. Yes, they did. If we got a soul. Now, I can make the argument, Dr. Hugh, as well. This is going to go over a little because this is worthwhile talking about. If you go to the second chapter of the book of Genesis, God never breathed into the woman. And it never said man did either. So by that argument, are we saying that this gets interesting? Does a woman have the soul? I mean, it's a theological discussion that has to be brought out. You know, the Islamic beliefs, but believe that women don't go to heaven because they didn't have the breath of God. But then again, the 6-day people didn't have that either. So did the 6-day people in Genesis 1 not have a soul? And then you get into the angels. Do the fallen angels have souls? If they're soulless, then they would have passed that on inherently to our species, right? I mean, just throwing it out there, folks. It's just, that's the problem. It's the problem, I'm telling you. We still haven't figured this thing out. And I'll pick this up tomorrow because this is a conversation that, it's worthy to having. Now, do I believe that women have the same soul as a man? I don't think the souls are divided by sex, but I would say yes. Now, how they got that, how we got it, I contend that the soul may be a curse. Why would a spirit want to be weighed down by the soul? And if this demiurge that everyone calls God, the creation God, that he passed this on to us, maybe it wasn't a gift, because remember, this is the same son of a bitch that no later than the next chapter gets into the fact that he fucking curses us. He curses us. He's got the gall and the audacity to curse us when he was saying that we were perfect. I mean, come on. So if he cursed us, then that means our soul is cursed. Just saying. I love y'all. This is why we get together here, because thank you, Robert. Appreciate that. But it brings out these points that are just completely missed over. We don't want to talk about that. Well, if this fucking God cursed us, and not only that, he cursed the elementals, he cursed the earth. So our souls are cursed. You could probably argue, well, in a theological discussion and even a philosophical eschatological, that our spirits are cursed. That would separate us into the ethers as cursed. Just saying. All right, folks, we'll pick this up tomorrow because, again, this impacts us all on our reality. If these things are true, or if they even have an element, a part of truth, then we may be fighting against something that is impossible to fight against. Just saying. Stephanie Marie, what do you say, hon? We need a soul. The spirit survives death, and the soul holds our memories and consciousness. But, Stephanie, here's my question then. But are we cursed? Are we cursed souls on the other side? Is that where the other spirits that exist in this beyond what we can comprehend, is that what they see to us? Is this the legacy that we have to live with because of this demiurge that's called Jehovah, God, Father, whatever? Grace, you're right. This God doesn't like us very much. Why? Yeah. All right, everyone. Much love. See you tomorrow. Keep on thinking. Always challenge our thoughts. That's the only way we're ever going to find it. Love the discussion, everyone. Thank you for chiming in. And if those of you are hearing on the replay, make sure to hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed and bring a friend to subscribe. And at the same time, leave a comment. I'd really like to know. you have to be thinking these thoughts as well.